Yeah, I'm ready.
Hey, Determined Destiny family, this is Coach Kevin coming at you with another video for the Determined Destiny family. And today, I'm excited about the way that we're going to roll out today's teaching. I have with me one of my mentors, one of my cousins, one of the persons that I believe is impactful in changing lives today, and has been a great contributor to the Determined Destiny family. So, if you're just joining us, this is your first time watching the Determined Destiny video. I'm Coach Kevin. Determined Destiny is an organization that's designed to change the lives of young people, impact the lives of young people by equipping them with the knowledge, skills, values, and principles they need to be more determined about their destiny. We've originally started with our focus being on young men, and that's still kind of our primary focus. But the principles and values that we teach here at Determined Destiny, they're applicable to everyone. And so today's conversation, I'm excited about the opportunity to be able to interview Mr. Stephen Williams, owner, creator, entrepreneur, and we're going to talk financial literacy today. And we're going to have this conversation. Yeah, it's prescribed. I've got some questions that I really want to get his input on and learn from him on. But we may ad lib a little bit because we want this to be a teaching point for our young people so that they can be more aware of their financial status and their financial situations and be more determined about their destiny as it pertains to their finances. So, Mr. Williams, Steve, I'm glad you had a chance you made some time to be able to join us today. Thank you again for being willing to put in this time with the Determined Destiny family. So, Steve, just tell the audience a little bit about you and about your strong passion and desire and that entrepreneur spirit that you have.
All right. Well, first, thank you for having me on. I really do appreciate it. And like you said, to be able to impact people, our conversations where we go back and forth and you give me ideas, I give you ideas. I really do appreciate that because there's not too many people, friends, family, or associates that you're even able to do that with that have the mindset that really understand and are thinking and taking in information and evaluating. I really do appreciate the time that we speak on the phone and talk about that. To talk a little bit about myself and how I got the entrepreneurial spirit. Well, first, just we're cousins, so most of my upbringing. But for the people who don't know, I come from, I guess, what would it be, middle class or a little lower middle class family?
That's right.
I was around both of my parents for a while, and then they got divorced. It's kind of similar to what probably other people went through. Uh, you know, Graduated high school, did my best in school, did my best to stay out of trouble, and I guess my upbringing is probably the same as most people that are watching this.
Yeah.
I could tell you the entrepreneurial spirit came from my. Other people might say grandmother. We say granny, right?
That's right.
That's where it came from because I remember it's like in my memory, I could see it when we used to go out there and she used to make those. Is it crochet flowers or yeah? And we would walk up to people and we would say dead or alive, and we know what that means. That means is your mother dead or is she alive? And if she was dead, you would try to sell them the white flower. If she was alive, the red flower. And I think that type of stuff, it gave me, maybe at that time I wasn't thinking about being an entrepreneur, but what it was that we saw someone that we loved and that we were part of doing something that wasn't attached to like our parents going to work and then coming back home. Like we were involved with the process of making them. We were involved in the process of going to the churches And we were
That's right.
involved, yeah, and we were involved in the process of doing the sales. Like me, you, our other cousins, we were walking up to people and we were interacting with adults. And I guess just took in a lot of that. And that was my first piece of entrepreneurial that I had experienced right there.
You know, we've had conversations around that, and I'll just give the audience some context to that. So this would be happening on Mother's Day,
Yeah.
when we would go out and sell the flowers. And so, we have had conversations around that, but I've never thought about it as like she was planting seeds in us to run our own businesses at that time.
Yeah.
Because you're right, we would create this assembly line for production in our home days before preparing to go out and sell the product.
Exactly.
And
So start to finish.
yeah, yeah, and we reap the benefits of that work. And we didn't have to report to anybody. It
No,
was ours.
it was,
And
yeah. And if
which,
let's even give our granny even more flowers or credit. She had, which she inherited. Remember the the big duplex, and then the houses behind. Like
right,
she was a true entrepreneur for that time.
yes,
And so you when you see that person doing that, and that person is someone that you look up to, some of us took it one way, some of us took it another way, but the example was there. And
yeah.
then whatever you did with it, you did with it. But yeah, it was that was my first introduction, and it made a big impact on my life.
Wow, that's great, because she definitely planted those seeds of be your own boss,
Yeah,
right? Work for yourself, create an industry or a product that people want, and make that available to them, and you be in complete control of that. And
yeah,
so, you've done a lot of that. You have multiple businesses, and that continues to be, that spirit is in you. So when did you realize that you were not going to work for anyone else? Like you had to make up in your mind at some point that I'm going to be my own boss.
I could tell you when I made the decision, I didn't know how I was going to do it. When I made the decision was when I was in high school, 10th grade, and I was trying out for the basketball team. Or what it was, yeah, 10th, 11th grade, because I was on the 10th grade basketball team. When I tried out for 11th grade basketball team, and I didn't make the team, and the football coach, I can just remember this conversation. It was me and probably three other people, and the basketball coach, came over to us and said, "You're not going to make the team," and he sent the other, like, two of them away, like, just away. And then he said, "Steve, the football coach wants to talk to you." And I was like, I thought to myself, I was like, I'm not. I mean, I love football, but I wasn't gonna. It wasn't what I wanted to do, and I didn't even really think I would have made the basketball team if I really wanted to do it. I think that it just wasn't for me for sports
Uh-huh.
at all, like regardless. And so at that time, that was the day that I said, I'm gonna be doing business. I'm gonna like do something where I can create something and do work for myself. I didn't know what exactly I was going to do, but I know
Okay.
that that was the day that I made that determination. So I was 15 years, yeah, at that time, 15 years old at that
That's
time.
exciting because I know that, our audience, we have parents, we have coaches, we have mentors, teachers that all watch the Determined Destiny videos, and they're working with young men and young people who are right in that age range. And today's society is not a whole lot different than our society back then, in the sense of that's that age where kids begin to try to figure out what they're going to do with their life. And so this conversation is so rich right now, for that particular age group. So I hope that our audience is hearing and understanding that this is the time when we talk about like 13 to 17 to 18-year olds. We've got to really help them develop that mindset of what they're going to do with their life. And it doesn't have to be set in stone. Like you said, you didn't know exactly what it was, but you begin to develop that mindset
Yeah.
that I'm going to work for myself. I'm going to run my own business. And so then in having that mindset, how did that affect how you spent your time later? So if you weren't on the sports team, you had to be doing something with your time.
Absolutely. What I started to do, and this was done on accident. So the great thing about being able to look back, and then you and I can share this with everyone that is watching. I accidentally did the right things. I went and I joined, back then it was network marketing. I joined a network marketing company at the age of 15. That was put me in front of and got me to in front of and talk to people that were like serious business people in that business. Like I didn't when I think about it, that there was I was with people that were like cared about me and was giving me some information that I'm using today that I didn't even know how important it was back at that time.
Wow.
So with the mindset, I started listening to it was these hypnosis tapes. I would listen to them when I went to bed, and it was just saying positive thinking, like you think positive, you're in charge of your life. Like I would listen to that all the time. And then I was joined a network marketing company, and I got around adults, people that were in business, doing that business seriously. And it gave me a different look at like, hey, these people are in business and it's about business, no playing around. And
Mm-hmm.
I became for my age, I became pretty successful at that business from just being around those people. And then there was other things but I was still kind of scrambled. I didn't know what I really wanted to do. I was just kind of latching on. But I guess the big piece of the lesson on that is that I just started getting away from the friends that I don't want to say wasn't doing anything, but they wasn't going the direction I was going.
They
I
didn't have the business
didn't have the
mindset.
business mind. Yeah, nothing wrong with them, nothing personally wrong. It's just that I had actually separated myself from really all of my friends. There was,
Okay.
from that group, they thought like, did you disappear or something? And it was just where my mindset had changed, and every friend that wasn't business, I just didn't have I didn't have that same relationship with again. I had,
Wow.
started, being around people that were focused on what I wanted to be, which was a business person.
Okay. I like what you said there in terms of like you begin to program your mind by being around people and listening to different audios that set your consciousness and your subconsciousness to have the knowledge that you needed to produce the business that you now run today. You said, I'm still using some of those things today. And that's interesting because that's at the backbone of determined destiny. Us being able to have the right frame of mind, regardless of what has happened to us in our past, and regardless of what mama does or daddy didn't do or what the teacher says about you. It's all about the mindset that you have that's focused on what you want to accomplish. And it sounds like you did that at an early age. So a lot of times, when we do these videos and have these talks, people think that, oh, that's not for me. Oh, that's not for me. Because they can't really grasp that concept. So I guess the thing that I would want people to do is just take the first step. Be willing to take the first step to change your mindset around, and we're talking about money today. So let's just talk about money. Change your mindset around how you view money and the way that it's gained and used. Be willing to venture down that road and listen and learn so that you have a different perspective on it. So I
Absolutely.
want to jump to the next question because
Yeah.
I think you are really hitting on something that's going to be really valuable to our people. So many kids today, they don't have much knowledge of money or finances beyond what they see, with their parents. They go to work, they get paid, they pay bills. That's the breadth of their knowledge. Or if they're a young teenager and they're working, I go to work, I get paid. When I get paid, I'm able to buy things. So that's their level of
Yeah.
understanding. What would you tell a young person who receives pay from either their parent or a job or, in some kind of way. Maybe they're even running their own business at an early age. What would you tell them in terms of how to deal with their money?
I would say the first thing, and it's funny that you asked this question because I just made a YouTube video about this. The first thing like that a person has to do with their money is they have to get their mindset right that they pay themselves first, and that's a crazy like some people may not even understand what I mean by that. When it was told to me when I started my first company, it was told to me by a banker, and my wife and I gave him the business plan, and it took care of everybody. It took care of the printer, it took care of this, that, all of the stuff. And he asked the question, how much are you going to pay yourself? And we get confused with paying ourselves by the things that we buy with our paycheck. That is not paying yourself.
Okay.
What are you gonna pay? Like, so to break it down, you get paid, you buy a car. Our mind is like, well, we bought the car, that's for myself. That's not. That's really not for yourself. When you pay yourself, that's money that is just, it sits, but you can determine where it needs to go. See, when you go and buy the car, yeah, you bought the car with the money that you had, but now it's going to something else every month.
Okay.
So when I really started controlling my money, when I really started controlling it, was when I understood fully internally that when I get my money, wherever it comes from, that money it could sit there and not be utilized on any expenses or anything. It's and if you think about it, if your check came in, say you make $5,000, your check came in and $4,000 sat there unspent on any expenses, wouldn't you really think that's my money? I control.
Yeah.
That's what you call paying yourself. So I would tell anyone first, pay yourself. I don't care if it's $5. When people talk to me about saving money and this specific type of question that you asked, I would tell them save $5 so you could just get the essence of what I'm trying to get you to understand. Save $5 a week, and if you can't do it, you are not looking at money the right way. You're just bringing money in and sending it right back out.
Okay, I like that. So let's say we have a high schooler and they're running their own business, or it's something on the internet. There's many opportunities for kids to be able to make money nowadays. And let's say they're bringing in $50 a week. All right, whether that's doing yards or babysitting or internet business, whatever it is, they're bringing in $50 a week. Of that $50 a week, when you say pay yourself and save, how much should they pay themselves, and then how much should they save? Is there a difference there?
Yeah, here's how I would break it down. They should take the expense to run the business. That part of that $50, that's automatically out of there.
Okay.
The rest they should save, and then they should make the conscious decision whenever they want to spend the money that was saved. Why am I spending that money? Am I just spending it because I have it? Because what'll happen, which is what happened to me, is that when you start to make more money, you're going to find that you're just spending it. Like it'll come in and go out, come in, go out. So no matter how much you make, you're going to be in the same situation. So I would say of the $50, what does it take for you to run that business? And then you put that other money, it sits there. And then you can spend all of it if you make the conscious decision on, if I do, what am I spending it on? Do I really need that? Or am I just spending it to just spend it because I'm not in the mindset of saving money? So, yeah. So when people make those conscious decisions, they will find that they could be in the store, and I've had this experience where I know I can spend a lot of money in a store, but I'm like, do I really need that, and why would I? Am I going to utilize it?
Yeah.
And you will
Yeah.
find that some weeks you might spend all of that money because you're going to really utilize what you're buying. And on other weeks, you're not. And that consciousness over time of what you spend your money on, you'll see that you'll have money that you saved, and you'll see that you bought stuff that you're actually utilizing. So money is a tool. Money
Yeah.
should not just be sitting there, just piling up and not be used. There should be, if you're saving it to save it, there's a reason why you're saving it. Is you're utilizing it, but you're just utilizing it in a different way. You're not hoarding, because you
Right.
don't want to get in the mindset of hoarding either, because then you'll think that there's a limit on money. There's no limit on money.
No.
There's always going to be money. It's just that where is it coming from?
Okay.
So saving money is not, you don't want it to be as hoarding. You want to be that's what I'm utilizing it for, to save it for a rainy day, for a business opportunity, for whatever it is.
Okay.
And
I
then,
like that.
yeah, and when you spend it on something, you're utilizing it to either bring you happiness or to get a car or whatever. It's a tool. And so if they have that mindset that money is a tool, and they utilize, and they're conscious on their spending, or they're conscious on what they're doing with their money, they're going to be in a better place. And actually on my sheets, I don't call it paying bills anymore. I call it investments, because if I pay my light bill for my house, or my light bill for my business, that's not a bill technically. It's bringing something into my life, electric.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't have nothing without it, and it's just a play on the mind. A play on the mind. But if you think about it that way, you won't always be thinking that, oh, I gotta pay this light bill. It's
Right.
Yeah, and that'll bring when
You're actually benefiting from it.
you're benefiting from it. And when you are in the mindset of benefiting from things, you always have a positive mindset, and more things come into your life.
Wow, that's some rich conversation. So I have a couple other questions, but I want to recap for our audience here a couple key points that you hit on, and I'll start from the last and kind of work my way back up. You said money is a tool to be used when you make a conscious decision to purchase whatever it is that you want. Man, that is key right there. So write that down if you guys are really into this conversation and taking some notes. Money is a tool to be used when you make a conscious decision to use it, not just, oh, I'm going to get these shoes, or I'm going to do this. I want these sunglasses or this bag, and without really being conscious and aware of where your money is going and why it's going to that place. And
Absolutely.
then you talk about kids having that understanding of money, and knowing that, as money is coming in, they have to realize that it can just sit there and that would just be fine.
Yeah.
Because it's their money. And I think that is like a piece that a lot of times we miss out on. It's okay to save money, just keep it. We don't have to spend it if you don't have to spend it, especially for our kids. Mom and dad's putting a roof over your head, or you're living with grandma, aunt, uncle, whoever. So you don't really have bills to pay in order to keep the lights on and all of that kind of stuff. So you really could just save your money.
And it's a conscious decision.
Yeah. And that's critical, because like sometimes we don't tell people that it's okay to just stack it. Just let it stack and be okay with that. And then you said something about pouring into your mind. You talked about how you begin to listen to tapes and allow mentors to pour into you, and they really influenced you later. So I want to encourage our audience. I know we have a lot of adults that pay attention to and watch Determined Destiny. So what I want us to be able to do is identify mentors for our kids. A lot of you are acting as mentors, but it needs to be strategic mentoring, like that's focused on helping that kid get better. Not just we just do life together. That's part of it, but you got to have some strategic mentoring points that you're trying to teach that kid so that you can see if they're actually getting better at things. And then you said you listened and you started reading. And so I want to encourage our mentors, our parents, to make sure that our kids are listening to the right things and reading the right things so that they can get more determined about their destiny. I got on my kids the other day. Now, I kind of gave them a break this summer, the first part of the summer. I gave them a break, let them just have some fun. But then I got on them the other day because I started to ask them, what are they doing with their time? Have they been reading? Have they been writing? Have they been practicing the piano, learning Spanish more, any of those things? And they couldn't tell me that they've been doing any of that with their time. And I said, okay, well, we got to change that. We got to switch gears here. I'll let y'all go the first 4 or 5 weeks without a whole lot of accountability of how you're using your time. But now moving forward, I made them a schedule of how they should use their time, because time is either invested or spent, just like money.
Exactly.
And, we have to be mindful and aware of how we're using our time just as much as how we're using or spending our money. Okay, so just to recap there, anything you want to add to that?
What I want to add to what you just said about your children, it starts with what you and your wife, education, family, everything. Your kids are they learn from us a different way. They learn from seeing. They see. You can say it, but they see. You and your wife, education, family, around each other, all of that allows you to be able to say, hey, you need to read some more. You need to do that. Because the kid, some kids might say it back to you. Some kids may just think it. They'll be like, well, Daddy, you don't be reading nothing.
Yeah.
See, that's how they'll come at you like that. My kids with reading, I got my book, one of my books right here. Even if it's a page, even if it's just a page, you read it, or you write. I write my goals. So like when people say, well, Steve, did you telling me to write these goals on a sheet of paper and read them every day? I'm like, okay, don't have me pull out my sheet. I got one of mine over here somewhere. Yeah, here we go, right here. Where people would question me on that, and I would say, okay, well, look at this. I wrote my goals for 6 months. I wrote it 10 times a day for 6 months. This was one of my goals back in 2010. And so I was like, so the kids, they're going to look at what you do. And then you can say things, but then in their mind, subconsciously, they're going to be like, well, did Mom and Daddy do it? Your kids be like, they did. So they don't even question. They just go, right, okay, I better tighten up. So the parents, what we got to do, and none of us are perfect. I'm just saying as a way for us to help them, anyone that's listening, and what I do, what you do, is that you make yourself the example first.
That's right.
And if you're the example,
practice what you preach.
Yeah, practice what you preach, because what they're going to do is they're going to be watching you at times that you don't even know it.
Yeah.
And they see you over there reading that book. They see you working on something. They see you improving yourself, whatever it is. It's going to give them just a little piece to say, well, and like with Granny, when we saw her doing it, we didn't like come to Granny and say, hey, you're out there doing this. You put this in order for us. It was just coming, subconsciously going into us. And it was something for us to latch on to when we wanted to do something in the future.
Yeah. Well, and the same can be said for money. And they're watching you and how you spend your money and how you manage your money and navigate the ups and downs of income and outgoing and all of that. So they're watching.
Yeah.
So we have to be the example for that as well.
And we're all learning, and we all learning. So like, we don't want to be like we're pointing fingers at people. We all have to learn, and there's always a different level. So,
that's exactly right.
But if we take it all the way back to the young kid with the $50 a week, if you think about it, it would start right there. Yeah. If that mindset, the process would start right there, because if you can manage it at $50 a week, you can manage it at 10,000 a week or 10,000 a month or whatever, because
Yeah,
you've dealt with the habit right there.
that's good. That's good. Okay, so before we get to the next questions, I want to give you an opportunity to share your contact info, your businesses. Maybe some people listening are like, man, I want to connect with this guy. I need to learn from this guy a little bit more. How can they get in touch with you? What businesses are you running that you think might be helpful to some of our audience?
Well, my credit repair company is probably the one that if someone is having trouble where they need to get their finances in order, they have credit problems, because we know one of the ways that a lot of people spend more money is by having bad credit. Because I had this saying, people with bad credit pay more for the same things that people with good credit pay less for. So
Yeah.
right there is like, if you had better credit, you already saving money on what you would have been spending on. So if anyone just wants to get any free information, they can go to my YouTube channel. It's the Credit Repair Shop, and you'll see my picture on there. There's been some fake ones on there, but look for the one with my picture. That's the one, and it's also verified. You can watch some of my videos. I have videos on budgeting, credit repair, that stuff, and I would invite anyone that seems to be trying to get their feet under them with credit or debt to go to that channel.
Okay. Okay. And then how about an email or anything like that if they have some specifics they want to touch base with you?
Yeah. We'll have them go. You could go to my website, and that's creditrepairshop.com. And in the
Okay.
bottom corner, there's a live chat. You could just type your question in there, and then we'll follow up with you.
All right, great, thank you. Just a couple more questions here. And I'm going to flip these questions because of just what we were just talking about. So, in talking about savings, we kind of went into that really good, but we didn't talk a lot about debt. And I know that's really an area that you've put a lot of research and work into, and helping people recover their credit score and eliminate their debt and that sort of thing. When we talk about our young people and them being more determined about their destiny and thinking about debt and how debt can derail your destiny at times, what's your take on that? What advice would you give our young people or even our mentors, parents around their outlook on debt?
Yeah, debt is like one of the crushers of people's spirit. It crushes people's when you get into debt, it takes away your creativity, because what you're trying to do is mostly manage the debt. Go to work to manage the debt. You don't have any time to be creative. I'll use this example for my youngest daughter. She graduated high school, started a business, did all of that stuff without having any debt. And I can see where she's at now. She just turned 30, where it made a huge difference, because she was able to prosper. She was able to do things. She was able to make certain mistakes, but she didn't, because of what my wife and I taught her about having debt. She didn't get into certain situations that other people would get into, that I even got into, because I didn't understand. So if we just keep going back to the lawnmower, to the kid with the lawnmower business, with the $50 a week, with making conscious decisions on what you're doing, that will stop an individual or minimize an individual on accumulating debt. Because the first thing a person will do, you go to school, graduate high school. Some people go to college and they have that debt. How are they going to manage that debt? They need to make the right decision on what they're going to be going into for their career to be able to pay that debt. Those decisions. But that's a conscious decision. If they don't go to school and they go to working at a job, don't do the things like what I did. You go out there and you get a credit card. You go out there and get a car that you can't really afford, and you get more
Right.
credit. You just start. So all of that is just making if you can have the mindset from the beginning to just make the conscious decisions not to get yourself into, I would say, too much debt, because people, we're going to enjoy ourselves. So I would just say make conscious decisions. And at the beginning, some people may spend a little bit more than they should, but if they had that mindset of, hey, this was just not the right decision, they can start backing off and start getting themselves out of debt. If an individual has too much debt right now, I don't know if you want me to go into it for parents that might have too much debt and they're trying to figure out how they can start setting a good example for their kid with
Sure.
debt. Do you want me? Okay, well, what you have to do is you have to like the straight answer to it is you have to make a decision to get out of that debt. You in the way you're gonna make it is you're gonna look at every option that's available. If it's gonna be settling debt, if it's gonna be maybe filing for some sort of bankruptcy, if it's gonna be to do debt settlement, whatever. Make a plan to pay it off, whatever. You have to do that, and you have to fight your way through it. And it's going to do so much for your kids when they see that you do something like that, that you attack something that really seems like a big, huge mountain to be able to attack. But you
Uh-huh.
attack it, and you fix the problem, you deal with it, and then the family is moving on, better after it. That
Right.
stuff really plays a huge part in your children's life, because my wife and I had to do it. We started the first business in 1990. Uh, I was right out of the military, working a security guard job, making $364.84 every 2 weeks, Kevin. Every 2 weeks.
Oh man.
That's talking about low. It was six something an hour. Started the business in 1990, the publication, the advertising magazine. By 1994, we're making over 100,000 a year, and we're making more money, but we're in a worse situation.
Oh.
Worse situation. And so Christmas of 1994, Barbara and I sat down and we said we're going to put together a plan to get out of that debt. We were $300,000 in debt.
Wow.
It took us from 1994 to 1999 to get out of that debt, and we attacked it. We did settlements, sent cars back. Hey, repo it, and we'll pay the difference, or we'll negotiate the difference. We did all, and that's really how I learned. My financial college was going through that for those years of that right there. So I know how it feels. I know how it feels to argue with your spouse. All of that. We were setting a bad example for the kids. I know all of that stuff. I feel it. I went through it. So I'm not here just telling people, hey, this is what you need to do. And I've never had those feelings. I know the emotions of going through it. And so you have to attack it, and it will save your family. My wife and I are about to be married 33 years now. So, I
Wow.
mean, that's what I'm saying. A lot of families break up because of finances. So for families, parents, attack the debt. Just figure out a plan. The plan might change as you go through it. For kids that are watching, get of the mindset of paying yourself first,
Mhm.
consciously thinking about what you're spending your money on. And I guess to add to it, if you're spending your money on something consciously, is that going to be a debt that's going to continue? It's different going to buy some shoes than to go and buy a car, to get a credit card and have a perpetual payment on
Yeah.
something going out.
Okay. So, as you were talking, I was thinking about something, trying to apply this, going back to that kid that is, running their business, they're making their $50 a week, uh, and debt. So I started to think, just using the lawnmower analogy. Not a lot of kids do that anymore,
Yeah.
but they can make the connection. But if I was using my home lawnmower and I was mowing, 4 yards a week or 2 yards a week and making the $50, and I had the mindset of, man, that's a push mower. If I went and got a riding mower, or a zero turn mower, then I could mow 6 yards a week and make that much more money. But that thing costs $4,000. So I have a mower that's bringing me in some income. I could go get a more expensive mower that would bring me in more income. Would you say that's a good opportunity to go into debt, or do you just keep doing what you're doing and save until you can go and buy that one?
It's a good decision if they know that they can get the business. So it'll be so it'll be like, okay, I'm going to make this investment in this because I know I can go out and get this. So they have to connect both of them. They can't just say, I'm going to go buy it to make it easier. They have to have that plan, that plan in mind, or they would have to know, if I do this because I have the demand that's coming that I just can't get to people. And if I had this type of lawnmower, I would be able to do this many more jobs. I could do it a lot faster. And with the amount that I'm charging, does it cover that debt? So all of those are conscious decisions, because you can see people go out and they just say, I just want to upgrade. And they're not even thinking about, can I support what I'm upgrading to? Or am I just getting it because it looks good, it's going to make it easier on me, which is part of it. But you got to also know that, okay, I'm going to get this. I'm going to do more advertising to bring in more business, or I already have the demand, and this is going to make me be able to do it a lot quicker. But it's a conscious decision to do it.
I'm glad you said that part about, like, how is it going to impact you? Are you just doing it just because you want to do it, or are you going to do it to have greater impact? So that was a piece that I was looking for. I use the analogy of the lawnmower business, but that could apply to anything.
It can,
like when you're making your decisions, is this decision going to help me make a greater impact? And then if it is, then maybe that's a good decision to make, to acquire some debt for that.
Yeah.
Because your business is going to grow from that.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think about, like, what's in today's economy, today's business market? There's lots of opportunities for people to generate money, for kids to generate money, families to generate money. So what advice would you give to kids in today's opportunity-rich environment as it pertains to making money?
The big part of it is that I would say, find something that you love to do and see if you can turn that into money. We're living in a whole different time than when we grew up. There's way more opportunities to make money in different ways that could bring you money and enjoyment at the same time. And as a kid, which I kind of wish I would have took this, I would have thought about it more this way. When you have no family, no debt, that is the time to really step out and be yourself 100% and just see what you want to do. Like, try the different opportunities that you feel that is something that you want to do, not something that you're just looking at somebody that is making money doing it, so you say, okay, I want to do it. Like, figure out what you want to do, and then you just go out there and do it. Like, right now, for me, I'm like, with the way that internet and all of the opportunities that are available, it's like when I think back of what I wanted to have for business in the 90s, it's here for me right now. So what I have to do to myself to wake myself up, to make sure I take advantage of the opportunities, is that to say to myself, back in the 1990s, you were hoping to be able to reach out to people the way that you can do it on the internet now. Like back then, TV, radio, and it was TV, radio was everything. And it was expensive, and newspaper. It could be expensive to reach out to people. Now you can do it online for a lot less. You can do it in like 1 hour and make something and get it right out to people. So what I for the young person that's listening right now, to take this in, I'm about to tell you wake up to what is available right now. See it for what it is right now. The opportunities now. Don't think in the future, because you'll miss what's going on right now.
Yeah.
So
Be present.
be present. Be 100% present, and ask yourself. This is where we was talking about that mindset, talking about that subconscious. There are, I don't want to lose any people right here with what I'm about to say, but I gotta say it. I gotta say it to be real to myself. When you talk to yourself, you know you're talking to, there's two people talking. When you talk to yourself, if you out there, you walking or jogging, or you saying something, or you're thinking something, that is not just some thoughts that's just flying around. That is someone, that is your other part of you talking. So if you say to yourself, okay, I want to start this business, and the first thing that comes to your mind is, where am I going to get the money, or is it going to work? Or that is somebody else inside of you talking.
Okay.
And I have to block that for myself too. Like no matter how much success you have, there's going to be another side to you that wakes up with different, when you have challenges, or you try to do something that you like, go for your dreams. That other side of you is going to talk to you. And if you have not put positive thoughts inside of you, you're going to have this clashing conversation, and that side might win. And to relate it to what we're saying now, that's what makes people not be aware of now. They're always thinking about the future. Well, in the future, I'm going to be this. In the future, I'm going to do this. In the future, I'm going to do that. And they don't even know that the future is now.
Yes.
The opportunity is right here now. Even though I wanted, like what's going on now is what I would have wanted in the 90s. I still took advantage of what was available in the 90s.
Correct.
And then I'm taking advantage of what's here. But what I wake myself up now is that the opportunity is way bigger now.
Yeah.
And I have to continually remind myself. And basically, my other side of me is the procrastination side. I argue with that side. And procrastination will show its face in different ways, depending on what it knows about you. Like for me, procrastination will be like, well, you got to take care of this other thing, when I could just say, I got enough hours in the day to take care of it. For someone who's trying to get themselves going, that young kid that hasn't been in business, that maybe didn't have examples of business, the thoughts in their mind that they're going to go back and forth with is, am I good enough? What are people going to think about me? And that is a side of you that is talking to you, and you can disregard that side and just be real, go for what you want, and just go for it. However it ends up, it ends up.
Be determined about your destiny.
Be determined.
And you make me think about back in the day. There used to be these cartoons or TV shows where you'd have the angel on this shoulder,
on this shoulder. They was giving messages.
Yeah. You have this thought, and then you decide which one you're going to listen to. It's applicable to what you're saying. We all have that tug of war that goes on in our mind, especially when we make up our mind to do something that may not have ever been done before. We're not real sure of what the outcome's going to be. Then that tug of war is really strong. So then what I'd like to encourage our listeners to do is be determined about your destiny and get started. Whatever that is, just start the process, and you'll figure out the moves that need to be made in there. We talked about this a couple of days ago, that the hardest thing for people to do is just to get it started. Once you've got it started, then the momentum that you have with that will help you figure out the right moves to make in order to get to your destiny.
Absolutely. Like if they could just get started, like don't worry about if it's going to work. Don't worry about what step 2 is. Just do step 1. Step 1 is this is what I'm going to do. This is my decision. That once you get that like put into your mind fully, people are going to come into your life. Ideas are going to come into your life. Creative things are going to, you're going to be more creative. You're going to say, okay, maybe it'll work that way. Maybe it'll work this way. And don't worry about being embarrassed. Do not worry about being embarrassed. There's so many people that don't even get started because they're like, well, what are people going to think about me if I do it? Don't let that stop you. That's that other piece of you. Like, let me give me this quick one. I know I'm being long, but let me give this quick example of something that happened to me and my wife. When we started our publication in 1990, we were in a 1-bedroom studio. We had 2 kids at that time. And it was so hot in there, we would open our door and it was there was another family across the way there, like not even that much distance. And we would be putting our ad magazine together on the floor. Back then, computers wasn't like they are now. And I remember the one husband would open the door and be like, what are y'all doing? And and he would snicker a little bit and laugh and be like, what, that's nothing, He would actually say that, like, that's nothing. And we'd be like, why would you say that? Well, we didn't even really get into it with him, but we would be thinking to ourselves, why even say that to us? And that's from people that you're doing something to bring yourself up to where they didn't do it. And so they'll think inside, let me just attack them to bring them back to my level of doing nothing.
Yes.
Well, years later, like we moved, kept growing the business. And years later, we're driving in one of our expensive cars. And we look over to the side and I see this guy holding that $5 pizza sign. Like, what they be like, they had the arrow.
Yeah. And guys out there twirling the sign.
Yeah, twirling the sign. And guess who that was?
Your neighbor.
That was the neighbor from back then. That was him. And we said hello to him, and we didn't bring up none of that stuff. Just said, I'm glad you're doing good. He and his wife, they got divorced, and so you can kind of infer that maybe the finances wasn't right because he's out there with that sign, and he's 40 years old. We were the same age, so that was back in when we were 40 years old. And so the people that are trying to say things about you, to say you can't do these things, all of that stuff, they're not going to be in your nice car. They're not going to be in your office. They're not even going to be around you. They're going to disappear. So why worry about what they're going to say about you? And this is for if you're trying to go and get your education, whatever you're trying to do, don't let people put their limitations on top of you. That's actually what that person was in a way attempting to do.
Wow, that's it right there. I'm gonna get you to say that again, because that's a powerful thing right there that we allow people to do to us.
Yeah.
Especially young kids. It happens. As adults, we do that to them. And so say what you said again about
not letting people put their limitations on top of you, because they're limited in their thinking. They're limited in what they believe they can do. So rather than encouraging you, they bring you back to where they are, because that's where they're comfortable, and that's where they want to be comfortable with being with you. That's when I talked about how I ended up separating myself from my friends when I was 15. It was because of that. My mindset was moving in a different direction to where it was repelling me from them, and they were asking me questions, and I was like, we don't relate with each other anymore. We don't. And it was, you're not trying to be mean to anyone. It's just that you're growing as a person. We're all going to be with a different group of people as we grow, or as if people regress.
So there's a lot. I want to just break that down real quick. So for adults who are watching this, be mindful, be aware of your limitations that you might be putting on the kids that you are impacting, the kids that you're mentoring and teaching and working with. Be mindful of your limitations so that you don't put those same limitations on those kids. And then if there's kids watching this, young adults, kids watching this, be mindful of others trying to put their limitations on you. And don't accept that if you know and you feel inside of you, you were designed for more. And there's more that your life is purposed for.
Absolutely.
Allow that to come out, regardless of the noise that you hear around you.
And one additional piece. Go ahead. I got one piece that I don't want to forget on that
No,
too.
go ahead.
Okay, another piece of it is on the other extreme. When you are a successful person, be mindful of your children looking at you as everything is so easy to do. So that was something that we went through with our kids. They're like, you and mom make it look so easy. And so this would be my what I would tell the parent, my advice to the parent when you're in that situation is that you tell them, don't grade yourself, your abilities on what I'm doing. You do your best. And you know what your best is. Like some people say, well, how do I know I'm doing my best? Every one of us know if we're doing our best.
Yeah.
I'll tell my employees that. They'll be like, can you grade me? I'll be like, I'm gonna grade you, but you know if you're doing your best.
Yeah.
And I know if I'm doing my best. And all of us know. So that's again, being conscious and being real with yourself. Am I doing my best? So for our children, if you're a high performance person like myself, I'll remind them, hey, you do your best. Your best is going to be your best. Don't grade it on what I'm doing, what your mom is doing. That's the other extreme, because you could go the other way too. There's always one way or the other direction.
Yeah. So you're a high performer, you're successful, and your kids are like, oh, I can never do that, or I can never match up to that, and so then they're limiting themselves, or they don't push themselves enough because where you have them is good enough.
Exactly. Yeah.
Maybe that's a whole nother talk, right?
That is another talk. Yeah, we won't get too far into it, but it is another talk. But the best advice is just to say, even for me, I don't grade myself on what others. Obviously, more successful people financially. So I don't grade myself on them. I grade myself on, am I doing what I set forth for me to do? Am I doing my best? And when I see that I'm not, I make an internal correction in myself and say, okay, you're going to do this week to improve that situation. And so with my kids, what we tell them is say, don't, you look to us and that's great, but are you doing your best, and what do you want for your life?
That's right.
And then if make your own scale. Yeah, and then you just keep graduating it. And if you think about it, that's really setting your child up for success in the future, because we're not going to always be here.
Yeah.
And so you're like setting them, and then you're giving them some very good advice, because if something was to happen, it's like, okay, I don't want to grade myself on what they had did. I need to be confident in myself now.
That's right.
And the only way they're going to have that is from what you have put into them.
So that reminds me of one of our values that we teach at Determined Destiny, the value of understanding. And when teaching this value, and you can go back and check out the videos. If you have not seen that video, it'll be titled The Value of Understanding. And when we talk about the value of understanding, we talk about understanding others first, being able to listen and observe to truly understand others. And then understanding ourselves is the next critical piece. And inside of understanding ourselves, we talk about self-awareness and self-reflection. And that's where what you were hitting on there, understanding what your capabilities are. They could be a little less, they could be a whole lot more, but you have to have that self-awareness and that self-reflection that goes into that allows you to create your own scorecard, if you will.
Yeah.
And then the understanding the situation. So we talk about understanding others, understanding ourselves, and understanding the situation. And understanding the situation, like kids don't always see our struggle. Uh, they came along at a time where we might have been struggling, but they weren't aware of that struggle. And then they get to a place where things are really good, and they don't understand the situation well enough to know that there was a struggle that got us
Yeah,
to this point. You're going to
absolutely.
have your own struggles that get you to whatever your point is in life.
Yeah, yeah. They internally, they subconsciously know it. They don't consciously know it. Depending on what age they were, they're
Uh-huh.
gonna either subconsciously know it or consciously know it. But they still might be a little bit confused because as the parent, you're protecting them, and there's certain things that you're just not allowing them to consciously maybe they might hear it, but there's certain things that they are not aware of, but they are aware of how you feel. Those, they pick up on all of those types of things. And then before we move forward, I want to make sure that my subscribers from the Credit Repair Shop channel go to Determined Destiny's YouTube channel. He has a lot of great videos on there, and it's a growing channel, and I think that probably 100% of the people that's on my channel have children, either
Okay.
in school or even adult children that they're still trying
Young
to
adults.
yeah,
Yeah.
young adult.
Yeah. Our principles and values apply to young adults as well.
Yeah.
And so this video is a little longer, actually probably a lot longer than most of the Determined Destiny videos. But we wanted to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah.
This was one of those topics. Financial literacy is one of those topics that we don't talk about enough within our society, within our schools, within our homes. So we wanted to give it the time that it needed, so that our listeners are more aware and have more tools in their toolbox to be more financially literate, and can make some better decisions as it pertains to their finances.
Yeah.
So again, Steve, thank you for joining,
I
being a
appreciate
part
it.
of the Determined Destiny family. I consider you a partner in this. You're one of my mentors. I call you and lean on you and get advice from you because I know it's going to be solid stuff that I can take and use in my own life personally and professionally. So I really appreciate you
Same
being that
for me.
voice.
Same for me. I get the same out of you.
Thank you. Again, Determined Destiny family, if you're watching this and you have not subscribed, I want to encourage you to subscribe to the channel. Check out the new website. Steve actually helped us. Some of his team members have helped us revamp the website. It's looking really good and coming together really nice. We've got some packages on there that I think you'll really like and that you want to tap into. We've got a package that talks about like a 30-day growth plan and what your kid would go through within a 30-day growth plan. We've got another package that talks about just a mentoring relationship where you pay a monthly fee and you have a mentor that's available to your kid. And then we have a smaller package that will be on within the next 24, 48 hours that is more of a do-it-yourself type of package, that if you feel like I can watch the videos and I can implement the practices without really needing to touch base with a Determined Destiny coach, that's going to be available to you as well. Just get plugged in. We got a lot of great things going on within the Determined Destiny family. Steve mentioned something about like really just taking the steps and watching what happens as you begin to take those steps. From a financial standpoint, Determined Destiny, we were presented with an opportunity that we hadn't really thought about in terms of going into schools and working with schools and coaches around the Determined Destiny principles and values. I had some coaches call me and was asking me questions about it. Now they want us in their schools, and this thing is really growing. We're going to have an opportunity later in July to present to all the coaches in a district. And so we may be really expanding that arm of what we're doing as an organization in the next few months. So we got a lot of good things going on with Determined Destiny. Glad you guys have decided to spend some time with us. Anything in closing, Steve, that you want to share?
I just appreciate the time, appreciate the interview, appreciate the being able to share with people, because that's where I'm at a point in my life is I want to be able to, leave as much knowledge from what I know to my family, to people like you and people that are watching right now.
All right. Thank you. And it's thecreditrepairshop.com is the website.
The website.
And then the YouTube channel is The Credit Repair Shop.
Yeah, and they'll see my picture on there. And if they got any questions or anything, we always will go on there. My staff and I will answer any questions that they have.
All right. Sounds good.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.